It is now mid-May, which makes it a perfect time to come down here to the creek and river and show y'all what the mulberry trees are all about. Now down here in the south, we have quite a few of these. People love them and hate them. Love the taste, hate the mess they make. But if you're in a survival situation, especially in regards to food, these things are exceptional. And I'll show you several different things aside from the berries that you can use them for out in the woods. Let's go ahead and identify these things while we're at it. Come on down, Hut. Let's go. Alright, so as you look around here, you'll see that the ground has been disturbed quite a bit. And that's for a reason. As these mulberries go ahead and blossom out and the fruit becomes ripe, it'll continue to drop for near on a month. Sometimes we'll have 2 different fruitings a year, depending on the weather. So interspersed between all this dirt and all this mess, you'll see some of the ripened berries falling on the ground, especially on the windy days. But by morning, this ground will be cleaned and scoured once again. And what that means is that all the opossums, all the raccoons, and every other manner of little creature out here in the woods is going to come out here and clean it up in the night over cover of darkness. So if you are out here camping, surviving, building your shelter, it would be advisable not to do it around a mulberry tree. On the other hand, if you are looking for protein, you're wanting to eat one of those kind of creatures, this would be a tree to go ahead and put your snares on, or if you're just really adventurous, to sit next to and have your knife ready, or whatever else you're using to hunt. You will have creatures in here, probably more than you want to handle. So lots of stuff going on. Identification has to do with the leaves and the kind of tree it looks like. Whenever I want to find these guys, a lot of times I'll go ahead and come down to the river and I'll sit here and go up and down the banks. If I want to know when they're actually fruiting out, I'll start looking at the insides of the fish that I catch, because the catfish will eat the berries. And once I start finding catfish with mulberries inside of them, I know to check up and down the banks. There's at least one tree that's fruiting out. Also, your raccoon scat. Raccoon scat will go from a hackberry to a mulberry very quickly. And once you start seeing that, you know that there are some trees somewhere around in the area, in the vicinity, that are fruiting out. So let's take a look a little closer. Once you get underneath the tree, you can definitely tell that there are berries. But if you look at the placement, you'll see that the berries are up underneath these large leaves. And they definitely vary in size and a little bit in shape. Sometimes they'll have lobes. Sometimes they're just that kind of a spade right there. Now these leaves can get up to dinner plate size. And one of the great things and benefits of the mulberry leaf is that it's actually edible, especially the little ones. So I'll take the large ones and I'll use these for baking, especially there in the fire, or if I've got to go ahead and bury something, I can wrap my fish or my meat or whatever I'm cooking around with the leaves, and it works out really well. No toxicity, good flavor. If I'm making a salad or want to saute, I take the smaller and younger leaflets and I can go ahead and chop those up and cook them and eat them, so it works out really well. Now, the mulberries, there's 3 different types that we have here in North America, at least the most common types. That's going to be red, white, and black. And you just kind of have to try them out to figure out what they are. That's about half the size of the mulberry on a good year. They can get up to an inch, inch and a quarter long. But you'll find, as you pick them, that a ripe mulberry will just about fall into your hands as you touch it, which makes it pretty hard to pick at times. And I'll show you how to get around that. The other thing is that if you can see my fingers, just from touching it, it's already stained purple. So when you're picking these, people will definitely be able to tell. If not by your fingers, definitely by your tongue. Huge burst of flavor, tons of sugar. One of the favorite things that I like to do is to actually make wine out of it. So if you're doing long-term survival or prepping, this is definitely a high sugar berry, and it's easy to make wine out of. You can get some high alcohol content out of it. And it is a way to go ahead and preserve it for later months to be able to pull those calories whenever you eat them. You can go ahead and dehydrate them just like regular berries. You can cook them down. You can eat them raw. For every pound of these guys, depending on how ripe they are and how much sugar, about a pound of them is kind of like a candy bar. 40-50 calories per 100 ounces, which means about 45 carbs per pound. 2 or 3 grams of fat, all the good stuff you need in it, and lots of good vitamins. So definitely something you want to have. One of the things that most people don't know about these is that the bark itself, or at least the inner bark, is edible. So on these new little branches, these thin ones, what you can do, and this was done a lot, especially in the olden days. We're talking about the Great Depression, was to clip these and go ahead and strip the bark off of them. And you want to mince them, you want to grind them up, and you want to go ahead and cook them overnight, kind of into a gruel. And what's going to happen is that the fibers are going to break down. You're going to get all those simple sugars out of it. You can go ahead and flavor it up with the actual berry. But whether you're making kind of an oatmeal paste or you're making a bread and flour out of it, you can get more calories out of this. And this is a starvation food. You're not going to be getting fat off of it, but it is something that will fill your stomach. And I've done this several times. Definitely mash it up well, dice it as well as you can, get it as processed as you can before you put it in the pot, and try and cook it down, because even 12-24 hours, if the fibers aren't thoroughly smashed and broken up, they just won't cook down. But it's definitely a good thing to have on hand. Now, as I pick the mulberry, you can do this one at a time. It works out that way. You're going to lose every fourth or fifth berry because they're just going to drop whenever you touch them. The way we do it down here is to use an actual tarp. Now I've got a 10 by 15 tarp. Whether you have some kind of tent or some kind of rain fly is up to you. Even your astronaut blankets and things like that will work out really well. But since most of these, especially on the ground, have the disturbed ground and nothing's growing underneath them, it makes it really simple to throw out a tarp. And so two parts to this, and this is the ideal circumstance. This is from somebody that does this every single year. I like to go ahead and take some of the berries and I freeze them every year, put them in gallon jugs, and we put them in our ice cream and our cereal and all kinds of other things all throughout the year. Bring a sterile tarp out. Any color will work. I use this clear one because it was on sale. And you can really see what's going on with it. Now the idea is that I'm going to spread this out. And over near the trunk, before I started this, I went over to a Spanish buckeye or Mexican buckeye, depending on what you're calling them or where you're at. But they have really good long limbs, and they cut really easy. So I went ahead and pulled one of the limbs off in order to be able to disturb the branches. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this out. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to hit the branches a bit, sway them a bit, and in this way I can collect a lot of the berries. Now if you were just out here and you do not have a tarp, before you go ahead and you start knocking all these berries, because in order to get enough to actually survive on, you're going to have to get some of the upper branches, and this is how you get to it. I would definitely sweep off all the berries that are already here and try and clean it up as much as possible. You don't want to pick up any of the berries that have been on the ground for more than a couple hours. You also have animal scat and things like that that you don't want to be picking up by accident. So if you do go ahead and disturb it, have to pick up the berries off the ground. Make sure that you're washing them thoroughly. Ideally, you cook them down and you cook them before you eat them. So let's go ahead and take our stick. That should work. And this is a quick way to get a lot of berries. Come on. Now, you'll have to reposition your tarp every single time. But this should work. And it's raining berries. Alright, so every single branch is going to be covered on them, depending on when you come in. And we've got quite a few berries to go after. And that was just a lower branch right there. So take a look. All the ones that have fallen should be that deep, deep black color, which means that they are ripe. Every once in a while you'll get one of the light colored white or pink ones. They're going to be very tart. The sugar's not going to quite be there. You're not going to get really sick from eating them. You're just not going to enjoy them very much and get as many calories out of them. So you definitely want to go for the ripe ones. But there you go. Quick food, easy food, a food that my family loves and absolutely adores coming out to pick every year, especially my puppy dog. But this is the mighty mulberry. Like and subscribe, guys, and as always, till next time. Alright, one of the things that I just about forgot to mention was propagation. And whether you're coming to camp in the same spot, you plan on foraging this area, or you just want to kind of take care of the creatures out in the forest, this is an important part of it. So I've got mulberries going up and down my creek and down the river, and some of those are actually from my childhood. One of the things I was always taught was to go ahead and try and replant as much as you can. So a lot of these suckers don't actually survive very long. You take 7, 8, 9-inch pieces of the new stems, you cut them just below the node, sometimes at an angle. If you've got it, use your root hormone, go ahead and remove carefully just about all the leaves. You can leave a couple of them there on the end, and what we do is we push this into the ground about 2 or 3 inches. And you might not have very good results. You got to go ahead and water it, but even if 1 out of 30 or 40 of these things makes, you've gone ahead and you've made a difference. So a lot of my trees are done in this way, and I get to watch them come up every single year, and it works out really well. We do this for a lot of our trees. So this is planting from cuttings. You want to make sure that you do it from trees that are very healthy though and have good tasting berries, because they're going to be exact clones. So clip them below the node, use a rooting compound, put them in the earth in a place where they can get enough sunshine, same setting as the tree that you found it. Give it some water, and with any luck, get you a brand new mulberry tree within a decade.